Okay, open up Fresco. When you get in there, the first thing I want you to do is check and make sure that you are logged in and it's not somebody else. So check. Okay, that's me. Good. That means I can. Now what I want to do is find a photo, and what we're trying to do for this project is we're trying to find a photo that has an emotion. It can be a friend, it can be a celebrity, but we're looking for emotion, whether it is happy, sad, intense. It's really up to you. So what I'm going to do here first is I'm placing it over top of a rectangular composition that I have already. And I want to show you one of the parts about Fresco that they haven't really solved yet is there's really no crop option here. So if I leave it here and I go to draw over top, I'm not going to know really where my drawing starts and ends. So I really don't think this is going to be the best option for me here. So I think what I want to do is I'm actually going to edit the image first, and I can actually use the iPad to edit the image. So I'm going to go back into my iPad, into the Photos app, and I'm going to open this photo of this guy's name's Kevin Garnett. So what I want to do is I want to crop it into a square. Yours doesn't have. So I hit the crop button up at the top there, and I'm going to make it into a square. Going to move it around here so that it kind of focuses on just the emotion part. And we're looking at the face, and what I want to do is click OK there. Now I have that saved and I have it in that square shape. I'm going to go back in here to Fresco, and I'm going to get rid of this old one. I have to delete it. I'm going to tap here, then I'm going to tap delete layer. Now that's gone. I have another layer with some little bing bong on it. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, great. You know what? I don't want to work in the rectangle. I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to work in the square. So I'm going to tap the square button. If you don't see it, you can put in the dimensions of a square too. Bottom left corner, I'm going to click on this little photo icon, go to Photos. This pops up. I'm going to click on my picture of Garnett, grab the white circle in the corner, and drag so it fits. And now that I know that the image I have is pretty darn close, hit Done in the upper right-hand corner. Okay, good. It automatically generated a color palette, but I'm going to make my own color palette in a minute because it really doesn't matter. We're going to try to match color and emotion. So I'm going to tap on the image of Kevin here and lower my opacity. A lot of people like to go all the way down to 50. It's a little too light for me. So I'm going to pump it back up, maybe live around 63, something like that. I like that better. Next step is a biggie. I'm going to lock my layer. So I tapped on it, and I hit the lock button, and then I made a new layer, and now I'm going to draw over top. And that way, no matter what, I'm not going to draw on that background. So now I'm going to go through, I'm going to click on my vector brush to start with. I'm going to click on the G pen, which is a nice pen that's going to give you taper at one end. So really kind of pointy at one end, then wide, then taper again. Love this pen. I'm ready to go. I'm on a different layer. I'm going to zoom right in. I'm going to start right here on the nose, too wide. Tap the number, and we're going to bring that back down, somewhere around 21. Let's see if that's a good size. Let's try it out. Nope. I'm going to double tap to undo. I'm going to take two fingers and tap on it whenever I want to undo. Let's go to 4. Sure, I can live with that. So then I start drawing, and what you want to do here is you want to try to outline all of the shadows, or really anywhere where there's a color change. So look and see where it changes from dark to light, or maybe from gray, like that, and we're just going to start drawing all around here. Make sure if you look over on the right-hand side that we have, or you're making sure that it's on a separate layer, and that you've locked your bottom one so that you're not drawing and messing up on that bottom layer right there. Okay. At this point, I'm going to drop into time-lapse mode, and we'll speed up this process, and I'll see you in a minute. So the theme of this project is going to be color and emotion. And what we really want to look at is, first of all, some other artists that have done this through time. This is Pablo Picasso. And Pablo was very, very sad because one of his good friends died, and he decided to paint only in blue, and this was called the Blue Period. And here's some examples of some Blue Period artwork from Picasso. Then Pablo fell in love, and at that time he sort of dove into painting just with warmer colors, and this was called the Rose Period. So if you look at his work, it's not entirely just, rose or red or whatever else. You can incorporate other colors, but the vast majority kind of fits within that style. So let's look at some different emotions here. If you look at this particular chart that I found online, it lists all the different colors and different emotions that can be associated with those colors. So you don't have to read them all through right now. There's all of these are going to be listed on Google Classroom for you. I found a couple different charts. Here's another chart right here. If you look at this one, there's similar words to the one on the previous chart, but honestly, my best advice is once you find your picture, try to identify that emotion and then go back in and see kind of where your colors are going to lie based on which one you wanted to choose. So for my particular image, shows intensity, excitement, possibly a little bit of anger. So this would fit with orange for energy, red for passion, red for aggression, yellow for happiness a little bit. So all those kind of warmer colors that show up in, obviously with fire are the colors that I'm going to try to focus on in my piece. Now, in the world of advertising, in the world of business, there's different colors that represent different things. This is something that we're going to talk about a little bit more in graphic design, but it's all kind of the same idea of how colors can convey emotion and ideas. So I grabbed a red here and I've decided that I'm going to do the oil paint method for coloring. I mean, there's a couple of different things you can choose: watercolor, oil paint. You could even do some of the pencil or vector brushes here. The main goal is really not about what tool we're using. The main thing is the colors that we choose that are going to match and convey that emotion that we're looking at in this particular picture. So what I'm doing here is I'm using oil paint brush. I mean, you can kind of see what I'm trying to do is fill in those areas kind of where I did the black outlines. Now the way I have my layers set up is I have my photo is still locked, and then the next one up is all I call it the Sharpie outline, but that's my vector brush. And then my top layer right now is actually the oil paint brush. And you can see that the red is going over top of the black. But in a minute, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to switch it around, because what I want to try to do is have my black at the very top, that Sharpie layer, and then all my colors are going to be added below. And I think at the end of the project, I'll probably end up having maybe 8 or so different layers of color, and then I just keep building and building for different reasons here. So there's different ways you can do it. You can do it this way. I also like to rotate. You don't have to do it straight up and down. You can zoom in. You can fill in your color. You can lower the opacity if you need to at any point. What I'm going to do is kind of fast forward to the place where I move the layers, so hang tight. So this is time lapse a little bit here. You can see me filling in some more of the red. But what I'm about to do is go over to my layers menu, and I'm going to take my Sharpie layer or the black vector layer, and I'm going to take that and drag that to the top. So watch the red and see how the black is going to overlap it when I switch. There you go. Now the black is on the top, which is what I want in the end game, but I'm just showing you the two different ways that you can do it. You can always draw behind there. You can always draw behind the black, or you can start by going over top and then move it later on if you really want to. All right, time lapse a little bit more. What I'm going to do here is start adding in my second color, which is going to be orange. Now the colors I want you to choose here, I really want them to correspond with whatever emotion you're going to do. Now there's a couple colors that you can use that are a little bit more universal, sort of. Everyone is welcome to use white. White can go over top no matter what. White can be eyes, white can be the teeth, white can be highlights on the side of the skin, so white's going to work just fine. Also, we have our black outlines, but if you choose to do a black on your figure, you're going to see later on what I ended up doing is a really, really dark maroon. So I took red and just made it really dark. I didn't go all the way to black. I have some browns and some maroons that I think are going to really kind of fill that void for me. a little bit more time lapse. I'm going to speed up, and then I'm going to add my third color. My third color is going to be yellow. So I start adding a little bit of the yellow highlights here. And from this point on, it's kind of like I'm mixing and I'm using those three colors plus maroon. You'll see in a minute I add in the maroon too as kind of a darker value. But now is really when I start to build, blend, and have a little fun and really work on building this face and creating the highlights, midtones, and shadows. Let's do a little time lapse again. Well, this may be a little bit more than a little bit of time lapse. This is basically me just finishing the project here, laying in the colors, trying to decide, decipher what is what. What is a shadow? What is a midtone? What is a highlight? So if you look at the red could be taken two ways. The red could be a midtone. It ends up becoming a midtone, so my oranges and reds kind of become that sort of middle area. The maroon kind of becomes the shadow, and then white ends up coming up in a little bit, so I use yellow and white. You can see now I'm starting to add, I call this the flare, where I do little mark making, like little brush strokes here and there, just to give it a little style, a little bit of flair here. And here's my final image. It's a little scratchy. It's not a perfect painting. It's a little bit more abstract, but really happy with it. And I hope you guys enjoyed doing this project as much as I did. Really, really enjoyed doing it, and good luck.